Per tant, jo li cedeixo immediatament la paraula a en Roger Albinyana, que és el director general de l'IEMET i que assegurarà la moderació d'aquesta taula. Moltíssimes gràcies a tothom.
Moltíssimes gràcies. Conseller, bona tarda. Tenim el repte complicat de conduir aquesta darrera taula de l'edició dels MedCat Days d'enguany i de fer-ho, ara m'ho recordava un dels ponents, dels extraordinaris ponents que podem comptar en aquesta taula, de fer-ho amb menys temps del que teníem previst, com deia ara el conseller. A mi m'agradaria, però, abans d'iniciar la moderació d'aquesta taula, i atès que ja després d'aquesta taula anirem directament a les conclusions institucionals de la jornada, fer un agraïment molt sentit i molt sincer, en primer lloc a l'equip de l'IEMET, que porta moltes setmanes treballant en aquestes jornades, però també i sobretot a la bona entesa i col·laboració estreta que hem tingut i que sempre tenim, de fet, però que crec que en aquesta edició ja ha estat extraordinària amb la Generalitat de Catalunya i amb la Direcció General d'Afers de la Unió Europea i l'equip del director general. Per tant, agrair l'esforç, la tenacitat i el treball de l'equip de l'IEMET, coordinat per l'Arnau Gallart i per molta altra gent que haureu trobat que ha estat aquí, i agrair, òbviament, aquesta col·laboració amb l'equip de la Generalitat. Sí que hi ha un tema, i ara sí que ja entro a la taula rodona, hi ha un tema que ens hem combinat, i és que és la darrera vegada que organitzem uns MedCat Days en ple mes de juliol. Per tant, no patiu, que a partir de l'any vinent organitzarem els MedCat Days en una altra data. I si em permeteu, canvio ara, per facilitar també el diàleg i per anar també més ràpid, canviaré ara a la llengua anglesa i entrem into this session entitled Advancing Multi-Level Governance for Enhanced Integration, Innovation and Cohesion in the Mediterranean. And I would like to say that over the past day and a half, we have tried to move, as the title of this MedCat Days edition entitles, we have tried to move from the Pact to the impact. We have discussed how the Pact for the Mediterranean, presented here in Barcelona last November, can be governed. We have looked at how it can be built together through territorial initiatives, and we have examined how territorial diplomacy strengthens Europe's external action. And this roundtable, therefore, brings all of that to one very practical question. How do we make multi-level governance actually work? And this is the question that we would like our dear panelists to answer. The Pact sets an ambitious agenda, but ambition on paper means little unless it reaches the ground. And I fully agree with what our colleague from the region of Murcia just said. And in the Mediterranean, no single level of government can deliver that alone. The European Union, therefore, sets the framework, but it is regions, cities, chambers of commerce, universities, and civil society networks that turn commitments into projects and projects into results. That's why I'm very encouraged by the pledge assumed by Director Gastello earlier this morning to support the involvement of local and regional authorities in the governance of the Pact for the Mediterranean. And I don't recall, I have to say, I don't recall a single policy framework of the foreign action of the European Union in which local and regional authorities are actually invited to participate in the monitoring, the implementation, and the governance. That's why I think that it's urgent that you, representatives of local and regional authorities, you come together and present a solution to the European Commission. So this afternoon, I would like us to explore three things together. First, coordination. What actually connects institutions, networks, and stakeholders across levels. Second, cooperation in practice, the tools, the methods, the partnerships that let on a good idea born on one shore of the Mediterranean travel to the other shore of the Mediterranean. And third and last, delivery, how we align our efforts so that the first action plan of the Pact reflects territorial realities and produces impact that people can actually see and feel. also in the run-up to the second action plan to be adopted or to be presented in October this year. Okay, and to help us, I'm really joined by a panel that between them, I would say that embodies multi-level governance in itself, because we have the representative of the regional institution, the network of cities and local authorities, the voice of Europe's regions, and the Mediterranean business and investment community. A little word on format. I will put 2 focus questions to each speaker, and I will ask you to keep it short, 5 minutes, if you can. Keep it tight so that we can really protect time, and please be concrete. It's very important that you are concrete, that you deliver, following again on the pledge by the representative of the region of Murcia, that we are all concrete. We try to be as concrete as possible. So with that, let us begin, and I'm pleased to introduce first of all Joan Borrell, who is the Deputy Secretary General for Stability and Resilience at the Union for the Mediterranean. Thank you for being with us. We know that you had some meetings this morning and you had to go back to Pedralbes and go back again, so thank you for being here. And my 2 questions for you are, where is multi-level governance already working well in the Mediterranean? And what practical coordination tools is the Union for the Mediterranean employing to connect political priorities with territorial delivery on the ground? Joan, the floor is yours.
Moltes gràcies, benvolgut Roger. No anem de temps, doncs ho faré més ràpid. And I will now switch to English, if that's okay for you. No sap greu. Multilateral governance, where is it working well in the Mediterranean? So the implied assumption for the question is that it's not working well. And if you are ambitious, and if you set multilateral governance from UN, and we have to, because for instance on climate, United Nations conventions are what sets the benchmark. So from UN, European Union, regional institutions as the Union for the Mediterranean, nation states, and yes, I had to leave. And I had to leave because the foreign affairs minister of one member state of the UFM visited us, and this is a clear reminder that member states are and will be for long the central actors on international relations. But below, it's the territories, the regions, and the cities. And it was very clear. Delivery at the end for the citizen will come through those administrations. So what is working well in the Mediterranean region, I will say, is the amount of networks that do exist. And yesterday and today, many of them are here present. On any topic, and the UFM works on 14 sectorial topics. We are not covering everything, right? For instance, we're not working on culture. We're not working on agriculture, but we're working on 14 sectors. On all of those sectors, you will be impressed that there is at least 1 or 2 or 3 Euro-Mediterranean networks that have been created through the years. And it's impressive, and it's a richness that we need to use, because the world is complex. Our world is increasingly complex. Our challenges and the fires we had yesterday in the south remind us that the complexity and the challenges of climate change are going to make our life more difficult in the Mediterranean. The good news is that the solutions are also there. I mean, on water, we have solutions. Desalinization is there. On energy, we do have solutions. We're on the verge of a revolution on renewable energy. But those solutions are also complex. But in order to be applied, they need to be applied through all institutions. But there are around 40 states. 43 states are members of the Union for the Mediterranean, more than 100 regions, couple hundred big cities, hundreds of medium cities, and tens of thousands of localities. So that complexity, it's beyond what a human cognition can grasp. So we need those networks. On each topic, we need a network of people willing to work together in the region, and they do exist. And it's not from today. I mean, we were reminded that Consulat de Mar, I mean, in the 12th century, and it's not even the 12th century, the Greeks and the Phoenicians, and then the Arabs and the Romans, they were sailing and connecting the region. The region might not be the only cradle of civilization, that I think it's something Mediterraneans, we used to say, and we need to tone down on that. It's not the only cradle of civilization. Civilizations erupted in several places in the world, but I think we did invented international relations. I mean, cross-sea relations. I think this is on us. So what is working well? The networks. What can we provide as the UFM? My answer will be very easy. To integrate those existing networks in our platforms. We are an intergovernmental organization. We work for the states. The member states are our main patrons, right? Of course, we work a lot with the European Union, because the European Union, they have their own policy toward the Mediterranean. But in our platforms, our sectorial platforms, we bring together high civil servants from the countries, from the member states. We are used to, but we could do better, to bring to that debate, to those platforms, all those networks, and I think I leave it here unless you want me to develop.
Well, thank you. I would love it for you to develop it further, but the problem is that we have no time. But thank you very much. I think your idea was very clear, crystal clear. We have networks, and now your role is probably to improve the way how these networks fit into the work that you are doing. Yes.
Because we have cooperation that is commission-led, right? The Pacte. And I think we all welcome everything that is commission-led because they have the funds, they have the global perspective, but we also have cooperation that might be member state-led. For instance, we will have the first sectorial ministerial on Euromed for the last 3 years on water in Rome. And it's, among other things, because one member state, Italy, pushed for it. But we could also think of regional-led cooperation. I mean, if there are regions, and I will not say that Catalonia is one of those regions, but there are regions that brings ideas and have the ambition, the UFM can also forward them. But below all those things, there is what I call decentralized cooperation. I mean, in the platforms, on the topics, civil servants bring and share best practices. They bring and share ideas. And sometimes it's just mimetic. Sometimes it's just competition, because if they are doing it, I want to do it as well. But this really works. And having not only civil servants from the states, but also those networks that are working in the region can only help fostering the adoption of solutions. Because, as I said at the beginning, technology is there. Technology will bring solutions. But technology by itself will not solve any problem. Technology needs to be adapted to the problem and adopted by the relevant administration. And this adoption can really be fostered through emulation. I mean, if the Moroccans are doing it, why shouldn't we? And the platform is the place for that.
Thank you, Joan, and we also want to be thankful to all the senior members of the UFM that have participated in the MedCat Days. We have Deputy Secretary General Petra Kazman in charge of human development with us. Earlier today, the Secretary General, and yesterday the Senior Deputy Secretary General, so thank you very much. Okay, so let us now move from the regional states into the local. So now we move local. And of course, to talk about the local and the importance of local in the whole regional framework, I think we have the best person placed. And the best person placed, of whom I'm a strong admirer, is the president of MedCities, is Clare Hart, who is also vice president of the Métropole de Montpeller. And by the way, congratulations, because you won big times in the elections, in the local elections. Because last time we met, we were not sure. So congratulations on that. But Clare Hart is participating in the MedCat Days in her capacity as president of MedCities, which is the largest network of cities across the Mediterranean. So I have two very short questions for you. First, Montpellier is deeply engaged in Mediterranean networks. How do these international partnerships and networks translate into innovation and opportunities for citizens and local actors? That was asked by the colleague from the region of Murcia. And secondly, what role can metropolitan areas play in accelerating the transition from experimentation to large-scale deployment of solutions in the Mediterranean? So two easy questions for you.
Thank you, dear Roger.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello to everybody. Lovely to be with you and to represent MedCities, but also, as you said, the Metropolitan Council. And I hope this will reassure our colleague from Murcia. That's what we do. We wear both hats generally, and that's what makes it work. It's easy to jump in straight after Joan because he's shouting out for our Mediterranean network. So thank you very much for giving me that launch pad. That's wonderful. And obviously, I want to thank the government of Catalonia. I want to thank EIMED as well. Thank you so much for organising this event and doing it so well every year. Now, my leitmotif is going to be, and I'll try and make it as encapsulated as much as I can, is going to be federating for accelerating. That's what I'm going to talk about here, because that's what we do when we develop ideas in Montpellier. And I got stuck in a train yesterday for 4 hours because of bushfires. This is one of the areas that at the moment our firefighting teams are working with Mediterranean-based teams in order to come up with fully fledged applicable solutions. That's what we do, so it's very hands-on, it's very grassroots, and it definitely is not up in some office. It's happening in the field. So I would like to say that if the Pact for the Mediterranean seeks impact, it's the cities and the city networks which will move and should move from margins of government to the centre of the governance process. So if there's a real take-home message here, it's that. We need to be at the heart of what's happening, at the heart of the processes. What we're doing in Montpellier needs to be shared, and what happens elsewhere needs to come to Montpellier. So that's where I see the link, the direct link for my population, for the people that voted for us. As you said, we're democratically voted citizens and we represent our people. So everything that we do internationally has to really filter down and come right back to the field. So that's what we believe in. I would say as well, ultimately, it's in the cities and the metropolitan areas where most of our Mediterranean challenges materialise and where the citizens will judge us as to whether the pact, the pact that we're working on, will succeed or will fail. That's very important. And whether we're talking about, and this has been said many times this morning, climate adaptation, water scarcity, migration, social cohesion, all of these questions that are our questions that we're dealing with every single day, it's our cities and our city leaders that are at the forefront. We're the first responders always to all of these issues. So we have to be there promoting the right practices, the best practices for our people. And that's what we do. And that's why we need our processes to be informed by other cities doing the same thing and maybe testing out other solutions. So I really agree and was very happy to hear Joan shouting out for us in that way. So what role can we play in accelerating transition? That's really your second question. For many years, our local authorities have been consulted on Mediterranean policies, and I would ask us all to be more ambitious on this. I think that we have to go from purely consultees, if you like, to creating absolute solid mechanisms for co-governance. I think we have to carry this together. And our cities today should help shape the priorities from the outset. That's maybe where we've slipped up in the past. Why? Because our local governments bring something unique to those policy discussions. They bring practical ground knowledge, day-to-day knowledge of what works and what doesn't work and what our citizens actually need. So that's where I really make this link between my city, Montpellier, and the networks that we carry. So networks are collective intelligence. That's what we do in networks. They allow our cities to exchange experience, adapt solutions, learn from failures, very important, and scale successful practices across the region. And I really want us to take this home as well. We do something more than that, which is we develop trust and we develop human-to-human relationships. That's very important. You said it when you talked about decentralized cooperation. And when political relationships at the national level break down, city-to-city relationships keep going. And we've seen it so many times in so many of our countries, and it's so important. Relationships continue when political leadership changes. So that, I think, is essential. We are in MedCities, if I can shout out for MedCities a little bit, we are delivering Mediterranean solutions. I'll give you a few because I want to be practical, and our Mercia correspondent really wanted us to do this. So climate adaptation, water resilience, we within MedCities are developing and transferring nature-based solutions, new approaches to water management and urban regeneration strategies, greening of our cities. We have many initiatives that are at your disposal. I'm thinking particularly about the Interreg Euromed One, which was very practical and worked on desalination and many other solutions, but also at the advocacy level. We have to do the two at the same time. We always have to think advocacy. Our Mediterranean Water Task Force of local authorities, which we launched at MedCities with Avitem and the IME, and the support of Barcelona as well, metropolitan area, really show how local cooperation can scale up and generate solutions adapted to local realities. Maybe another one, capacity building. That's something that we do a lot. And please, it's not in any way anymore north-south, okay? It's north-south, it's south-south, it goes every which way. And that's how it should be. And I have to say, and this is very practical experience, Morocco, let's take the example of Morocco, is so much further ahead on reuse of treated water than we are in France. So we are really depending on the skills of our Moroccan colleagues to help us progress in France at the moment. So another example, and we have created the Barcelona Academy for Mediterranean municipalities at the moment. Again, another MedCities initiative, just to put everybody together, get our thinking caps on and really generate ideas. Crisis management, just a final point on that. Crisis management, our city networks provide trusted channels for very rapid cooperation. We're dealing with crisis more and more. We have to prepare our people, but also our cities for this. And current work supporting municipalities such as Saida and in Lebanon and Bethlehem in Palestine show how important urban resilience, disaster preparedness and local government is through this city-to-city cooperation process. I talked about bushfire. There's so much to be said with this. But again, MedCities is very central in developing these crisis responses. So we have day-to-day, we have crisis, we have capacity building up there together in order to build the future. Just to finish, I promise, Roger. These examples have in common that they bring together different levels of governance. That's where they're strong. Different territories, different partners, all working together around shared solutions. That's what we do. And that's why city-to-city networks like MedCities, and there are others, should not be seen simply as platforms for exchange, as Joanne said, but as part of the operational infrastructure needed to deliver the Pact for the Mediterranean. If we believe in the Pact, and we truly do, we need to come together and be central in the delivery of that Pact. Our networks connect policy with implementation, regional priorities with local realities, and ambition with impact. And just to close, the Pact for the Mediterranean will succeed only when cities are not just asked to implement it, but but are empowered to shape it. Empowered to shape it, from the word go. And networks such as MedCities stand ready and willing to help make that happen. And I just jotted this down from everybody else. It's time for action, okay? We need to build into the pact. It's time to go from pact to impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clare, and for really highlighting the value of city-to-city networks. I have to say that, well, you said there are many city-to-city networks, but in the Mediterranean, in our region, it's only you. It's only MedCities. So then, of course, you have CGLU, you have metropolis, but for the Mediterranean is only MedCities, and of course, it's very clear the role that you need to have in the implementation of the Pact. Okay, so let us move from the local level to the regional level. And there, of course, we have our long-standing partner of MODER, the Conference of Peripheral and Maritime Regions, and here the Secretary General, Davide Strangis, who is been normally present in, I think, in all the 7 editions of the MedCat Days. So here the questions for you. Where are you already seeing regional authorities successfully influencing Mediterranean cooperation agendas in a meaningful way? And secondly, what would make it easier for regional initiatives to move from individual projects to shared Mediterranean scale impact? So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger, and let me also once more stress the effort pulled by Generalitat and IEMED in particular. We are very grateful also for these 7 editions. I'm an habitué, but it's because of something, because this is useful and this, I think, is a good way annually to get together and really see where we are, state of play, and move on, always in hopefully a better direction and a more clear direction. So thank you for that. Regarding your questions, I would start by saying that regions do influence Mediterranean cooperation, and they are able to do that more, mainly if they do 4 things. And the first, of course, is the detection of the needs on the ground. This is the first layer. Secondly, they connect actors on the ground and also across borders through organizations like ours. So when they do that, also they influence the agenda. And then when they develop strategies, of course, and the concrete solutions attached to those strategies, and they convey those to the Euro-Mediterranean and European institutions in this case, and they connect to the policy debate. So this influence is different, a bit different everywhere because of competencies, because of funding, because of the government structure, level of decentralization, culture in general. But of course, we can say, and we have observed, that regions have already influenced the European and the Mediterranean agenda on many topics, beyond the ones that for us are classic, like cohesion, accessibility, or transport. I would like just to make a few examples, and 2 are very clear to me. One is on climate adaptation and water resilience, for instance, and of course, Mediterranean regions have shown so far that climate change, of course, is not an abstract environmental issue. It has already affected coast, water resources, agriculture, tourism, cities, islands, and basic infrastructure. This is very key and very clear when we look at ourselves and those whole interventions that we heard here today. And the second example is sustainable blue economy. For the CPMR and our Mediterranean regions, the blue economy has never been only about the sea and economy, but about territories, about land-sea interactions, about sustainability, about the preservation of the ecosystems. And through initiatives like the Bologna Charter we developed several years ago that have provided action plans, pulled together a lot of resources, projects, coordinated action plans and projects for more than 500 million euros, also together with Unió for the Mediterranean, with Interreg programs, with Horizon, connecting different resources. We have been able also to adapt and to influence the Euro-Mediterranean agenda on those issues. There are more recent examples like the Water Alliance that was presented by Emilia-Romagna now. These are examples, just examples of the many initiatives that the regions can pull off and can connect to or can be a way to connect the political priorities, of course, to participatory processes and cooperation frameworks, like the UFM, of course, but also like WestMed, USER, BlueMed, and Interreg programs. And also, if you think about all, let's say, that exists at local, regional level, like coastal communities, ports, shipyards, maritime industries, universities, energy transition, all that is localized, happens at local level. So this is why regions can really bring an added value. And we have also some new initiatives, some new ideas that we are trying to push towards the European and the Mediterranean agenda, like the concept of maritime industrial valleys. For us is very important, for our regions is very important. And this is a quite simple idea, how to use really regions as catalysts to connect the ports, the industries, the research centers, the skills, the clean energy project in the same territorial ecosystem, attracting investments, supporting innovation, and creating jobs and opportunities on the ground. The last example I want to bring is that in general, more in general, of course, regions are pure agenda setting forces when they influence European policies that have a Mediterranean impact, and we have seen that with the Ocean Act, we have seen that with coastal community strategies, the island strategy, the port strategy, and of course now with the Pact for the Mediterranean and the claims also attached to that for a potential future macro-regional strategy. So this is also on the table because the region have asked for it during the last decade. Now, that's also why, as we all discussed today, it's very important to consider the regions not only for the implementation phase, but for the setting up, the creation phase. And I think that we are open really to any arrangement with the governance of the Pact that allows that to be a reality. So we can discuss about that. And I would summarize what we need in very few things, because we have said it in different ways, but during the past 2 days, very clearly, multi-level governance, ownership, integrated frame, this integrated frame that connects everything, the priorities, the key actors, the players, the funding. Then data, it was mentioned also the interoperability of data, but also the availability of data. This is a very important matter. And finally, of course, also technical support for project maturity and capacity building. This was also one of the ideas presented by Generalitat of Catalonia, the METER facility. I think that is a test bed, I think, that could really be something concrete that would help the regions, in this case, and the local authorities. All the things I said, I think, are available also for the local authorities, for the municipalities, that could help us step up a bit in the next phase. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. I think the impression after listening to you and listening to the President of MedCities is that there's a lot of innovation that you can grasp from the actions that, of course, you scale up as networks. So what Joan said in the beginning, well, we need to better plaque all this innovation, because sometimes in the realm of intergovernmental policies, we lack this innovation because we're driven more by the classicism of relations among governments. So I think that this is something that we need to think about, and we need to invest. Okay, fine. So let us move on, and now we move to your left-hand side, and I'm very pleased to introduce Rama El Alesi, who is former advisor to the mayor of Amman and also representative of the RLM, as President Nanette said before. So I think you are going to speak in Arabic, which is also very important because we have translation into Arabic. So please, the floor is yours. Yes.
شكرا روجر. بالبداية اسمحوا لي أنه أتقدم بالشكر إلى معهد IEMED وكذلك بالشكر إلى حكومة كتالونيا على تنظيم هذا اللقاء المهم لنتحدث اليوم معا عن كيفية الانتقال من الميثاق إلى الأثر في منطقة المتوسط. من وجهة نظر مدينة عمان لم يكن التعاون الأورو متوسطي يوما مجرد تمويل للمشاريع ولا يقاس بعدد المشاريع التي ننفذها، ولكن يقاس بقدرتنا على بناء شراكات تحدث أثرا مؤسسيا طويل الأمد وتمكن المدن من تقديم خدمات أفضل لمواطنينها. في السنوات الماضية انخرطت مدينة عمان عملياً وفكرياً في العديد من أطر التعاون مع الاتحاد الأوروبي، مع الاتحاد من أجل المتوسط، شبكات المدن المتوسطية مثل الميد سيتيز، وكذلك من خلال مشاركتها في آرلم أسهمت في نقل صوت المدن والسلطات المحلية إلى الحوار الإقليمي وصنع السياسات. بالنسبة لنا أكثر هذه الشراكات قيمة كانت التي جمعت المدن والمؤسسات الأوروبية والمؤسسات المالية الدولية مثل البنك الأوروبي لإعادة الإعمار والتنمية وكذلك الشركاء الفنيين ضمن إطار واحد. فهي لم توفر التمويل فقط ولكنها وفرت بيئة لنقل المعرفة وتبادل الخبرات وبناء القدرات والتخطيط المشترك، وهذا ما منح مشاريعنا القوة على الاستمرار الذاتي حتى بعد انتهاء فترة التمويل. لقد ساعدتنا هذه الشراكات على تطوير مبادرات عملية في مجالات التخطيط الحضري، المرونة المناخية وإدارة مخاطر الفيضانات والنقل المستدام والتحول الرقمي. مؤخراً شهدت مدينة عمان إطلاق أول حافلات كهربائية ضمن منظومة النقل العام، وكذلك حظيت مدينة عمان بتقدير دولي في مجال الحماية من الفيضانات والمرونة المائية، وهذه إنجازات تعكس مدى قيمة التعاون طويل الأمد المبني على الثقة وتبادل الخبرات. لكن إذا كان هناك درس واحد تعلمناه من هذه التجارب فهو أن التمويل وحده لا يصنع النجاح. النجاح الحقيقي يتحقق عندما تمتلك المدن مؤسسات قوية تكون شريكة في تصميم الحلول، ولا تكون مجرد جهة منفذة للمشاريع. وعندما تستمر العلاقات المهنية حتى بعد انتهاء المشاريع يكون الأثر أكثر استدامة. من خلال مشاركتي في آرلم فقد أتيحت لي الفرصة العام الماضي لكي عملت كمقرر مشارك في آرلم في تقرير ميثاق حول المتوسط، وأيضا شاركت هذا العام كخبيرة عن المقرر مشارك من بلدية الرمثة في الأردن، وأتيحت لي الفرصة للاستماع إلى تجارب العديد من مدن الشمال والجنوب. وقد أدركت تماماً أن المدن على ضفتي المتوسط بالرغم من اختلاف السياقات فهي تواجه تحديات مشتركة مثل تغير المناخ، الضغط على الخدمات العامة، النمو الحضري، والحاجة الملحة إلى اقتصادات أكثر تنمية وأكثر شمولاً. ولهذا فأنا أؤمن بأنه أكبر قيمة لهذه الشراكات ليس فقط في تبادل الخبرات، وإنما بناء مجتمع من المدن نتبادل المعرفة معاً ونتبادل الخبرات معاً نبتكر معاً ونكون شركاء متساويين في إيجاد حلول لمستقبل أكثر استدامة. وأنا أعتقد أن المدن هي المكان الذي تتحول فيه السياسات إلى أثر، وكذلك الحوار إلى تنفيذ. ومن هنا فأنا أؤكد أننا إذا أردنا لميثاق المتوسط أن ينجح فلا بد لنا أن نعطي للمدن دورا أكثر، لا مجرد جهة للتنفيذ وإنما في تصميم السياسات وصياغة الأولويات. بالنسبة للسؤال الثاني روجر، ما الذي يفتحه الميثاق لمدينة مثل مدينة عمان؟ هذا السؤال ينقلنا إلى جوهر ميثاق المتوسط، لأنه يدفعنا للتفكير ليس فقط كيف نريد تحقيقه، وإنما في كيفية تحويل هذا الميثاق إلى نتائج ملموسة يشعر بها المواطن. من وجهة نظري لا ينبغي لنا النظر إلى ميثاق المتوسط كوثيقة جديدة، بل ينبغي النظر إليه كمنصة عملية للانتقال من الحوار إلى التنفيذ، ومن السياسات إلى الأثر الذي يلمسه المواطن، وهذا بالضبط ما تحتاجه مدننا اليوم. فبالنسبة لمدينة مثل مدينة عمان يفتح الميثاق 3 فرص رئيسية. الفرصة الأولى هي تسريع التحول الأخضر. لقد أثبتت تجربتنا أن الشركات الأوروبية تستطيع أن تتحول إلى مشاريع عندما تلتقي برؤية واضحة لدى المدينة. فعلى سبيل المثال يمثل مشروع الغاز الحيوي في مكب الغباوي نموذجاً ناجحاً لهذا التعاون، حيث تم تنفيذه بدعم وتمويل من الاتحاد الأوروبي عبر البنك الأوروبي لإعادة الإعمار والتنمية. ويسهم هذا المشروع في تحويل النفايات إلى طاقة نظيفة وخفض الانبعاثات الكربونية ودعم الاقتصاد الدائري، كما رفع مساهمة تغطية احتياجات أمانة عمان الكهربائية من 45% إلى 55%. كما أن إدخال الحافلات الكهربائية لأول مرة في منظومة الباص السريع يعكس كيف يمكن للشركات الأوروبية أن تدعم انتقال المدن نحو أنظمة أكثر استدامة، أكثر كفاءة، وبالتالي تجويد جودة حياة المواطنين. سأنتقل سريعا. أما الفرصة الثانية فأنا أعتقد أنها هي الاستثمار في المعرفة والابتكار، ونرى في ميثاق المتوسط فرصة في مجالات التخطيط الحضري والتحول الرقمي والعمل المناخي وإدارة الموارد. أما الفرصة الثالثة وهي برأيي هي الأهم، فهي تطوير طبيعة الشراكة. إنه إحنا تعودنا بالسنوات الماضية إنه يكون التعاون من خلال تمويل المشاريع، لكن المرحلة المقبلة يجب أن تنتقل إلى مستوى آخر بحيث تصبح المدن شريكاً في تصميم البرامج وصياغة الحلول. لكي أنهي أود أن أختم برسالة بسيطة. إذا أردنا فعلاً أن ننتقل إلى من الميثاق إلى الأثر، فعلينا أن نستثمر بالمدن لأنها المكان الذي تتحول فيه الرؤى إلى واقع. ولهذا نأمل أن يفتح الميثاق مرحلة جديدة تقوم على الاستماع المتبادل، حيث لا تنتقل الخبرات من الشمال إلى الجنوب فقط، بل يكون هناك تعلم متبادل بين جميع مدن المتوسط. شكرا لكم.
Shukran, Rama, and thank you for your encouragement and your commitment towards the shared objectives that we all share here. Let us now move to our last speaker, and I'm delighted to present also a long-standing friend and companion of murder for many, many decades, I would say. Emmanuel Notari, who is the Delegate General of NEMA Investment Network, who is going to bring more the perspective of investment agencies and the mobilization of private sector that have been, many of you have been vocal throughout the day and a half on the need to mobilize the private sector, and we know that NEMA has been working on this for a long time. So my questions for you are, where are you already seeing cross-border investment and entrepreneurship deliver real territorial cohesion in the Mediterranean, and what would it take for the Pact and its first action plan to mobilize private investment at scale? Emmanuel, floor is yours.
I will speak in French because you have a wonderful translation service. Donc je vais parler français. Merci beaucoup Roger, et merci beaucoup Sénène et Roger pour l'invitation. Merci aussi à la généralité de Catalogne d'associer Anima à ces MedCat Days. On est très heureux d'être là et de revenir collaborer avec cet écosystème catalan. Anima, nous sommes un réseau d'agences et d'organisations qui accompagnent les entreprises, donc qui soutient le secteur privé et la coopération économique au sein du bassin méditerranéen. On est présent dans 20 pays avec 70 membres qui sont membres de notre réseau. Donc, comme le disait Johan, on fait partie de ces réseaux thématiques sur la thématique de la promotion de l'investissement, de l'attractivité, du développement économique. Pour répondre à ta question, les Nations Unies, la CNUSED, UNCTAD en anglais, viennent de publier il y a 2 jours leur rapport annuel sur les investissements étrangers dans le monde. Et donc, je pense qu'il est intéressant de vous en livrer un peu les enseignements en ce qui concerne notre région Méditerranée. Les choses sont en train de... Il y a eu un shift depuis 2-3 ans à peu près, et en particulier démarré en 2024, on atteint des années records pour le sud de la Méditerranée en matière d'attraction d'investissements directs étrangers. C'est beaucoup en Afrique du Nord, mais même la Jordanie, le Liban ont très bien performé sur l'année 2025. Je reviendrai sur les raisons, mais donc c'est bien. Et c'est des investissements qui sont diversifiés, c'est-à-dire que d'un côté, vous avez les Européens qui continuent à investir et qui sont les plus gros détenteurs de stocks d'investissement dans les pays du sud de la Méditerranée, avec des investissements industriels, qui créent de l'emploi, qui participent à la diversification sectorielle des pays. Vous avez les pays du Golfe qui viennent beaucoup ces dernières années parce qu'il y a des projets d'infrastructures, des villes nouvelles en Égypte, des projets d'électrification, du transport, de l'énergie. Donc ça amène, ça attire ces investissements du Golfe. Et puis vous avez des nouveaux acteurs qui ont hésité mais qui commencent maintenant à arriver, notamment la Chine. Qui s'intéresse beaucoup et qui délocalise en fait. La Chine délocalise son activité pour gagner de la compétitivité en s'installant en Afrique du Nord pour toucher le marché africain et sa zone de libre-échange panafricaine et bénéficier des accords d'association avec l'Union européenne de ces pays-là. Donc c'est assez intéressant ce qui se passe pour le sud de la Méditerranée. Donc par ailleurs, les investissements qui proviennent d'Afrique du Nord sont à leur plus haut niveau historique. C'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, la Méditerranée est un investisseur vers l'étranger, et on le voit très bien en Europe. Moi, le siège d'Anima est à Marseille. Marseille, plus de 25% des projets d'investissement direct étranger qui viennent dans la région de Marseille sont des projets qui viennent d'Afrique du Nord et d'Afrique. Donc c'est aujourd'hui une destination privilégiée, y compris par Business France, l'agence d'attractivité de la France, pour prospecter des investissements étrangers. En Italie, un des opérateurs mobiles en Italie appartient à Orascom, le groupe égyptien, depuis des années. Donc aujourd'hui, les Sud-Méditerranéens sont des investisseurs en Europe. Ce qui fait qu'il se dessine en fait une carte de cette fameuse intégration régionale dont on a rêvé depuis le processus de Barcelone, avec des investissements croisés, des chaînes de valeur régionales qui sont finalement aujourd'hui ce qui commence à se traduire réellement dans les chiffres qu'on voit se dessiner dans ces rapports internationaux qui mesurent l'investissement. Et donc ça c'est positif. Qu'est-ce qui fait que ça arrive aujourd'hui ? Et qu'est-ce qui fait que ces chiffres ont augmenté ? Écoutez, les 2 moments dans l'histoire récente, mais dans l'histoire où il y a eu ces flux d'investissements étrangers assez massifs qui se sont déversés vers le sud de la Méditerranée, c'est 2 moments où les pays du sud de la Méditerranée ont été capables de monter une ingénierie de pipeline de projets. C'est les années 2005, 2006, 2007, avec les privatisations et les libéralisations d'un certain nombre de secteurs. Et c'est aujourd'hui avec l'Égypte qui crée des villes nouvelles, 5 villes nouvelles, une nouvelle capitale, le Maroc qui met sur le marché des projets de transport, des projets d'électrification, la Tunisie pareil sur des projets d'électrification. Et donc cette capacité à développer de l'ingénierie, ça attire des projets, ça attire des investissements. Et ça, il faut en tirer une leçon dans la gouvernance, pour revenir à ta question sur la gouvernance et la gouvernance multiniveau. Aujourd'hui, promouvoir un territoire, faire du marketing territorial, ce n'est plus donner de l'information. À l'heure de l'intelligence artificielle, l'information, elle est partout, elle est facile à trouver. Ce n'est plus faire du branding et de la marque, c'est faire de l'ingénierie. Ça veut dire quoi ? Ça veut dire monter des projets accompagner des projets, marketer des projets et faire de l'ingénierie financière. Un projet d'investissement, à 80%, c'est de la dette. C'est simplement 20% d'equity. Donc, il faut savoir attirer de l'equity, il faut savoir attirer de l'investisseur, mais il faut savoir aussi discuter avec les banques qui vont amener 80% du projet. Et donc ça, une agence de développement économique qui est en charge de l'attractivité du pays, elle doit avoir maintenant intégré ses compétences d'ingénierie et de capacité de discuter avec des acteurs financiers divers, pas seulement des investisseurs qui mettent de l'equity, mais aussi des voilà. Et donc, pour revenir au pacte, la suggestion qu'on ferait concrètement pour le pacte, c'est de former les acteurs territoriaux et de former en particulier les agences régionales et les agences nationales pour des pays comme le Liban, la Tunisie. Voilà, c'est des pays qui ont une agence pour l'ensemble du territoire, à se doter de ces capacités d'ingénierie, ingénierie financière et ingénierie de projet. Après, comment on fait pour maintenir ces flux et faire en sorte que cette dynamique d'intégration régionale, elle se poursuit et elle se développe? Il y a deux freins que que je vois. C'est quand on benchmark l'Afrique du Nord par rapport à l'Asie du Sud-Est, qui est quand même le concurrent dont on parle, pour attirer les investissements et les projets des Européens, c'est le niveau technologique. Nous, Anima, on est très actifs depuis plusieurs années à développer les écosystèmes d'innovation industrielle, les clusters. Il y a une grosse politique en Europe et en Catalogne, d'ailleurs, sur les clusters. On soutient ce développement avec le partenariat avec l'Union européenne dans les pays du sud de la Méditerranée. Et là aussi, les collectivités locales ont un grand rôle à jouer dans le soutien aux clusters, à ces pôles industriels qui mettent en relation les PME, les grandes entreprises, les universités et qui font en sorte que la mayonnaise de l'innovation se prend, c'est-à-dire que la recherche arrive dans l'entreprise, crée de l'innovation et se retrouve sur les marchés et se développe. Voilà. Et donc ce lien recherche-industrie qui peut être lié à la valorisation de la recherche vers l'industrie, mais qui peut être lié aussi à l'entrepreneuriat des chercheurs et des universités, c'est des initiatives qui sont très importantes à continuer de soutenir selon nous. Et enfin, un dernier point, si on veut qu'on soit dans une sorte de schéma d'économie circulaire au sein de ce bassin méditerranéen, c'est-à-dire qu'on se fournisse en proximité, qu'on investisse en proximité, qu'on développe plutôt des chaînes de valeur plus courtes que d'aller chercher nos produits à l'autre bout du monde et en particulier en Asie, il faut que l'Europe, dans ses traités, incentive le fait d'avoir du sourcing de proximité. Or, on a un mécanisme de compensation carbone en Europe qui ne tient absolument pas compte de la distance du produit qui va entrer sur le marché européen. Un Mexicain, un Vietnamien est taxé autant qu'un Marocain s'il émet autant au départ. Et ça c'est incompréhensible. Et l'Union pour la Méditerranée, vous devez vous saisir de ce sujet. C'est pas possible qu'on reste avec un mécanisme de compensation carbone qui ne donne aucune incitation au sourcing de proximité dans le bassin méditerranéen. Voilà, merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Emmanuel. I think that some of your main takeaways could be perfectly fit under this METTER facility that the Secretary presented yesterday, because this is how the mayonnaise that you you spoke about, how the mayonnaise can be created. Anyway, unfortunately, because it's already 2 o'clock and we should now be already downstairs, we will not have time to discuss, even though downstairs, of course, we can always discuss, but not in this format, because now we have to move to the institutional closing. Even though I have to say, and with that I will finish, that our speakers have been presenting very, very interesting and some ambitious ideas. One of the things that you have to know that we will be doing now is we're going to prepare a strategic note with the Catalan government that will bring together all these ideas, and that will be conveyed to the European Commission. So from my side, I would only like to thank you. I think all the elements to have a successful implementation of the Pact are there. I think earlier this morning, Director Castello was very clear. I was concerned that the UFM was not properly involved in the implementation of the Pact, but he said, no, the UFM is already part of the implementation of the Pact. I was concerned that local and regional authorities could not be properly inserted in the implementation of the Pact, but he said, no, local and regional authorities will be included in the Pact. It's up to you to propose how we should be doing it. So this is the homework that you're taking back home. So I think the elements are there. It depends on us to make it possible and to make the implementation of the Pact a real success for the region. So thank you very much. And now the floor goes to Secretary Agustí Fernández de Losada for the institutional closing. Thank you.